Hello.
Hi. About that, well, first question, why can't marriage be allowed with two men or two women? That question got me.
Yeah, so I mean, allowed and what it is are two different things. So again, just strictly from what marriage has always been is the idea of two separate parts coming in a union to be able to have, hopefully, a lifelong partnership to raise kids, adopt kids, or have kids, and to become better versions of themselves. It is the attraction of opposites. And so if you want to redefine marriage, that's fine, that's your contention, but I take a classical view of marriage.
Based on, like, what is that based on what? The Bible?
The natural law.
Is that the Bible?
Well, natural law is separate than the Bible, but it's harmonic with the Bible, that's correct.
Okay.
Because what would you say, what is the purpose of marriage?
Marriage is like, I love you, you love me, let's
Got it. So
let's get together.
Can a 25-year-old marry an 8-year-old?
No.
Why?
Because that 8-year-old is not ready. Like, they
Got it. So at
are
some
not
point,
adults.
so then let's build out your definition more then. Love each other, but also what? What is the purpose? What is the destination of marriage?
We are two adults. We love
Got
each
it.
other.
Fair enough. Okay, we love each other. End of story.
Well, let's give me another thing, and maybe I'll add to it.
Okay, but is that it? Just is it about union, partnership, friendship? What is
I think it's just like, let's get our taxes good. Like, let's just get married. Like, I don't think there needs to be some big crazy
No, that's
reason.
actually, no, I'm not attacking you. I think marriage is holy, and by holy, I don't just mean it in a religious sense. Holy means separate, meaning it should be elevated, it should be celebrated. It's something that is so above the rest, and you just think it's like a tax advantage, and that's fine, because actually most Americans agree with you.
Yeah.
I think marriage is something where we should drop everything, like, wow, two separate parts have just made a lifelong covenant with one another to learn about the other and to grow with each other, and it's difficult, and I think that we've lost that.
I mean, I'm Jewish, and like in Judaism, there's the when you get married, the religious marriage, and then there's the government marriage. Like, you have to get married
For
twice,
sure.
basically. So I
That's
think
right.
what you're talking about is probably the religious marriage, like with a priest. I'm talking about
Yeah,
governmental marriage.
I'm even talking about government. I'm just saying traditionally our governmental marriage, again, I'm in the vast minority of opinion in the country, this has been the classical view that it's a man and a woman coming together in something sacred and something holy or elevated. Again, that's not...
I would say that's just a Christian marriage.
It's not necessarily Christian. In Judaism, in traditional rabbinical Judaism, Orthodox, homosexual marriage is not recognized.
That is true.
So it's not Christian. In Islam, homosexual marriage is not recognized.
Okay.
So it's not just Christian.
Okay.
So it's Abrahamic.
Abrahamic.
All right, we agree.
Why do we care if there's no father? I grew up without a father. I feel like I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. I'm in college. Like, why are we so towards the father? Why does he need to be there so much?
So just try to answer my question for me. Do you think, what kind of is there any time, and you're being very vulnerable, and I appreciate that, when you were growing up, and maybe not, where you said, I wish I had a dad around?
My mom says I did wish for that once, at a wishing well. But my mom was great. She supported me, provided me.
Sure. No, I'm not. There's not a knock on single moms.
Right.
But was there ever a time maybe where a more masculine figure would have been helpful?
I can't really, not off the top of my head.
Okay.
Like, what? Can you give me an example of
Yes.
when a masculine figure would be helpful
when
in my life?
a boyfriend might have broke up with you, and you didn't want to talk to your mom because she just didn't get it, and you wanted a strong, stable man to say you're beautiful.
If my father was like, you're beautiful, that'd be cool. But like, if my mom was also like, you're beautiful, I don't really see a difference between like my mom saying it and my father saying it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I don't see the world that way, because there's being a father to a daughter, there's a very unique bond between a father and a daughter, where you fall in love again, but not romantic love. You fall in a different type of Greek love, which is called storge, which is a father-daughter love, where you have such affection for this incredible being, and your task is to shepherd that vulnerable, innocent girl through life all the way up until the marriage aisle, to kind of connect the two topics together, right?
Wow.
Where then you hand it off to another man, because women are worthy of protection.
So you're saying, like, there has to be a man in the woman's life.
Not
The
has
woman
to,
can't be,
not-
like, alone.
No, there are exceptions, but it is a beautiful ideal. And when that ideal falls apart, now let's talk about the technical side. In the black community, when fathers are no longer around, crime goes up, poverty goes up. Because you'll understand this less, and a man in the audience who grew up without a father will totally get this. If it's just a mom in the house, the dad should come in and discipline the 14-year-old for acting like a brat. The dad comes in and he says, stop doing this. You need to be able to outrank the 14-year-old brat with another masculine figure.
But don't you think that, like, there's a reason that a lot of the black community doesn't have a father, and it's because of systemic racism. It's because, like, black men are more likely to be in prison.
Oh, yeah, so why do people go to prison?
For, like, a lot of the time, it's because they're in poverty and they have no other way to get...
Okay, so they commit crimes.
Because
Yeah, but so, wait, so wait.
Why do they
So wait, if you're
commit crimes?
So in poverty, we should give excuses for committing crime?
Yes, because if they have no...
Like murder?
I did not say murder. I said, like... I'm saying, like, if someone is stealing something because they have no money and there's no jobs...
That's so interesting. So you think most crimes are crimes of necessity in the black community?
I'm not saying most.
So, like, gangbanging is, like, a crime of necessity?
That I literally never said that. I'm saying,
But
like,
you're making an argument of crimes of necessity. Like, they're so hungry, they can't handle it.
I'm talking about, like, crime that has to do with, like, getting food, getting stuff that you need to live.
Right, but we have food stamps for anyone that needs it, so that doesn't exist. We have subsidized housing for anyone that needs it, so that doesn't exist. We have free health care for any poor person that wants it, called Medicaid, that doesn't exist. We also have welfare, cash, for anyone that wants it, so that doesn't exist. So what is it they're missing that they need to go, sorry about that.
Well, the food, like, a lot of food stamps might not cover all of what they need, and also housing is, like, there's not unlimited housing. A lot of people who are unhoused have to, like, go to shelters, and then they get kicked out of shelters because there's a mandatory stay limit. So it's not like you just get a house.
It's not a stuff thing, though, right? It's like, if you need stuff, there's also tons of charities out there that can provide assistance, churches. You will not go hungry in this country. You will not starve in this country.
Yes, you will.
No, we have an obesity problem.
Street?
We have an obesity problem, not a starvation problem in this country.
What are you talking about?
In State Street, if any one of those people went to the local Episcopalian church or Methodist church, they will get fed. I guarantee it. If they go to a local food shelter, they will get fed.
Okay, but I'm talking, housing.
For housing. If we have Section 8 subsidized housing in this country, right? If you want to have a roof over your head, you can have a roof over your head.
With, like, thousands of rules, and you can't do
anything. Yes, of course, yes. I mean, it's not ideal, but the point is this. So let's just go back to the crime and necessity, right? Mm-hmm. So why do people commit crimes?
I'm not saying why all people commit crimes. I'm saying there are people who commit crimes because they have no other choice.
Got it. So why is it that other people that are as poor as they are in separate racial groups don't commit crimes at the same rates? For example, blacks are 13% of the population, and they commit over 50% of the crimes. Why is that?
Black people, I would say, not blacks.
Okay,
but
it's not. I could say white, so you wouldn't care. So
anyway,
hold on. Right? I can say Hispanics, you wouldn't care. So don't police my language.
But whatever. I'm not policing your language. I'm just saying I would say black
people. Fair
people.
enough. But the insinuation is that I'm being racist. But that's fine.
Okay, that's your opinion.
Yeah, but black Americans are 13% of the population and commit anywhere between 50 to 56% of murders, crimes, carjackings. Why is that?
Well, what percentage of the white population is living in the same level of poverty?
Got it. So there's twice as many white Americans in poverty as black Americans. Not the same percentage, but still, if you look at white Americans in poverty, they commit far less crimes than black Americans in poverty. Why is that?
Maybe it's because when you're in a store, like, they follow black people and they don't follow white people.
What about murder?
Rural?
No, but why is it that, like, just saying murder, why is it that black people commit so many more murders?
White people live in rural?
Like, that's not, you're being followed in a store and you commit more murders?
Yeah.
You're making the rule, or I'll get to you in a sec, but
okay.
it's not,
anyway.
It's not a good argument. But let me just go back to one thing you said. Systemic racism, right? So the idea of systemic is that it's within our laws. Mm-hmm. There are some black Americans here listening. What can you as a white American do that the black American cannot do?
Let's see. I could go into a store and not get followed. The police could not track me down on when I'm driving. I'm less likely to get shot and killed while I'm driving. There's a lot of things that I can do.
Okay, so just be clear. So if you walk into a local CVS here, how would you guys be treated differently?
Well, they would probably say hello, and they would probably just walk, let me in and not follow me, and then.
So these are a lot of probablys. I don't believe you, but I'm talking about laws, right? So what in the legal code of America can you as a white individual do that the black individual can't? Because systemic means it's in our code, right? It's for example, Jim Crow, totally get it. That's systemic racism. What is systemically your advantage?
Maybe housing codes, because I know redlining isn't a thing anymore, but there is, isn't there people who are white are more likely to be given loans because of, they have less, I don't know, that's just it's back from redlining. It's a lot of the same stuff.
So, I don't buy into any of that. So I just kind of go.
You don't buy into redlining, or you don't buy
into redlining. I don't buy any of that stuff that happens today. In fact, it's the opposite. Loans are now given favorably to black Americans in certain cities over white Americans.
Okay, but
you think redlining? I believe in. I know redlining existed. I don't debate that. Of course it has. But because of DEI and because of affirmative action, there's actually a preference given. But so let's go back to fathers, right?
Okay, let's go back to fathers.
So something happened to black America since 1965. So in 1965,
you mean the war on drugs?
Right. Well, so if that's your contention, that's fine. So in order to go to jail for the war on drugs, you have to be dealing drugs, right? Or you have to be caught with drugs. So if you don't
which is one of the main jobs that you can have in a poverty-stricken. If there's no jobs, you're going to do drugs. I mean, you're going to trade drugs because that's the only option you have.
It's such a difference in worldview. You're making excuses for criminals.
Yeah.
And what an insult to poor immigrants that came to this country that didn't commit crimes and worked 2 or 3 jobs and worked themselves out of poverty and didn't decide to go deal coke.
Well, my father is a white immigrant from Poland, and he committed crimes, and he's fine now. So.
Did he go to jail?
Yeah, he did.
I thought there was systemic racism. I thought that doesn't happen very much.
I never said white people don't go to jail. I said they go more, and you're saying that white immigrants are fine and they don't.
No, that's far less, actually. I'm glad he went to jail if he committed a crime. I think it's terrible.
Yeah.
So, but at the core of it, we have a difference in worldview, right? My worldview is I'm not sympathetic to people that steal, that loot, and murder, because that's a values problem. And I don't like making excuses for people that do things that are obviously destructive. Secondly, we have a problem in black America. The biggest problem is not racism, it's the lack of dads. If dads are around, kids flourish. And you know who agreed with me? Barack Obama. Barack Obama used to make this a central piece of his campaign. He came to this campus back in 2012, drew 100,000 person crowd, and talked about how we need to rebuild the black family and put dads back. Why doesn't the Democrat Party talk about that anymore?
I'm fine with having fathers. I'm not against having black dads.
For sure. I'm saying, but don't we agree? Has anyone heard that mentioned on the national scale in the last 10 years? Yeah, I mean, we've heard about
probably not.
Yeah, and
because there's bigger issues.
No, there isn't. See, that's the issue, is that this is what makes us different. As a conservative, I focus on if you have family breakdown, don't worry about climate change, don't worry about systemic racism. All that stuff is these crazy abstractions.
Well, you can create family problems. Systemic racism creates family problems. If you take away black people from their families, then they're going to have broken families.
Okay, but that's interesting. How are you taking them away? Aren't they leaving? They're not staying with the women they're impregnating. So, for example, there 13% of the population is black. Not every single person ends up in jail, obviously. And yet there's huge child abandonment because there's a cultural expectation that is different in black America than in white America, which is it's okay to impregnate a woman and abandon her in black America. It's not
based on what? What is that based on?
That's a good question. Where does it come from? It's just based on...
No, I'm saying what is that, your view of black America?
Well, it's not a view. It's true. I mean, don't take my word for it. Look at Thomas Sowell and Shelby Steele that have done amazing analysis on this. It's that in black culture, that is not considered to be a stigma. In white upper middle class culture, for those of you that grew up in Waukesha or Libertyville or grew up in Hinsdale or grew up in Naperville, you guys all know those neighborhoods. If you impregnate a woman, and you just abandon her, that's frowned upon. That is a social stigma in upper middle class white culture.
And it's not in black culture?
No. In fact, it's glorified by the rap culture. It is.
I think
Yes.
rap culture is showing what happened. I don't think it's.
Do you think that the songs that are the most popular in Black America are uplifting Black America to be better versions of themselves?
I think the most popular
Like Nicki
songs
Minaj, Cardi B. Do you think that they're like empowering people to be great?
Well, I do think Cardi B and Nicki Minaj are empowering, but when you talk about like
Wow.
Black, like let's go like Kendrick or whatever, like they're talking about their life experiences and they're saying this is what happened to me, and people relate to that because that's also what happened to them. It's not saying this is the greatest thing in the entire world.
Does it lift up the audience to become better?
I think so, because it's like
How?
Because it's saying we all relate to this. We can all like this is our story. We can be like better than this, even though it's like I mean there's better, there's not better. It depends on what your worldview is, but I think that rap is good because it can like.
No, I'm not saying it's bad or good. I'm saying like just the essence, the core, the ethos is not exactly about like quitting drinking, quitting drugs, and getting married and having children.
No, it's about what you have done, not about like.
No, but just like to be clear, like in Black rap culture, is it generally glorified to go sleep with a lot of women?
I mean that's your view of it.
I'm asking a question. Is it in Black rap culture?
I
Yes
think-
or no, guys? In Black rap culture,
Is glorify women?
to be able to sleep with a lot of women.
I mean I think that's one aspect. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just take that aspect.
Because it's a luxury that people can do, and like it's one of the things that people can do, and everyone can relate to, or a lot of people can relate
Shouldn't
to.
ideally your culture try to elevate and try to challenge the individual to virtue and goodness, not try to bring them down to the lowest parts of
No,
their...
who is? No, I'm not saying that they are bringing them down. I'm saying that this is what they are doing, and they are sharing their experiences. They're not saying this is the best thing in the entire world. They're saying this is what I have been through.
Like sleeping with a lot of women.
Yeah.
Or like gang violence and, you know...
I mean, if that's what, like, a lot of people have been through gang violence because that's what's happening in their neighborhoods. They feel like that's the only option. And you might know that that's not the only option, but when you are living in that neighborhood
Got it.
and you don't see any jobs, this is how your family was raising you, what other option do you have? And once you're in it, it's really hard to get out.
So got it. You talk about systemic racism and that being a major driver of Black America's failure to launch, if you will. We subsidize single motherhood in this country. So if you stay single as a single mother, you get money from the federal government, and it's basically subsidized, if you will.
Sure.
Can we at least agree that if the nuclear family in Black America was stronger and tighter knit, that would be a good thing?
In a lot of cases, yeah. I think if the father's abusive, I would not want him there. So I think it really depends on like what family you're talking about. I don't think you can generalize.
What
and
percentage
say,
of fathers do you think are abusive?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I would say it's probably small, right?
Not like I don't know. I have no idea. I have not done research on
Yeah,
what
no, I don't know
percentage
number
of
either,
fathers.
but
are
generally
abusive.
it's good when mom and dad stays around and is raising the kid.
I would say if they are both healthy parents and they are both ready to have a child, it's great.
Got it.
My father, not ready to have a child, do not want him around
just
me.
one last question on role models. Let's say there's a black kid right now. Would you rather have that black kid have a role model be Kendrick Lamar or Clarence Thomas?
Kendrick, obviously.
So not the black American on the United States Supreme Court.
No, he's trying to ban interracial marriage. He's trying to like do all.
Wow, no, he's in an interracial marriage.
He literally like.
He's married to a white woman.
Yeah, I know the Roe v. Wade thing like goes against.
He's trying to ban his own marriage.
Yes.
I thought I've heard
I'm sorry to break it to
everything.
you.
So we agree that there should be better role models, maybe.
When have I ever said that there should not be? I'm agreeing with you that there should be fathers if they are
I know,
right
it's
for
fine.
that. We're agreeing.
And
I think.
last question: you're voting for Kamala, I'm guessing.
How can you tell? Yeah.
Okay, what's her
Obviously.
greatest accomplishment?
Probably capping capping the insulin at $35.
She did that. Yeah. What else?
I mean, you said her greatest. I'm just saying, like that's the thing that goes off the top of my mind is like, you like big pharma. I'm sure you're anti-big pharma.
Oh yeah, I mean that's why all the pharmaceutical companies are donating to her. That's right. So, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Enjoy voting for Kamala.
Vulnerable. Vulnerable. Masculine. masculine. Buy into. Buy into. At the core of it. At the core of it. Stigma. Stigma.